Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Leadership Void Podcast. I'm Enrique and my co-host Vince, hosting one person that I think is just killing it on all levels. He works for PHP, but I'm going to let Vince introduce him, and we'll get on this show.
Right. Well, thank you, Enrique. From the Windy City, greater Chicago area. Uh, we have Matt Sapaula, who's Chief Distribution Officer at PHP Agency. I'm just so excited to have you here with us. We're so blessed and honored. So first, just dive in. Tell us about who you are, sir.
Gotcha, Vince. Enrique, glad to be here. Honored being part of the Leadership Void. Let's fill it. I come from the greater Chicago area. I grew up in the neighborhood called the Berwyn-Cistro-Stigney area. Our family comes from the Philippines. So I grew up in a predominantly African-American Latino neighborhood. So that means I had identity crisis growing up. And so I served 8 years in the military. I enlisted when I was 17 years old. I was 17 years old in boot camp, turned 18 in boot camp, and did 8 years in the Marine Corps. The different conflicts I was a part of was Operation Restore Hope, which is in Somalia, Africa, and it was Operation Southern Watch post Persian Gulf War II as well. Did the 2 tours on Navy ships, the USS Bellawood, the USS Tripoli. Spent a year in Okinawa, Japan, and thank God I got involved in the military so I could learn how to deal with a diverse amount of people, because as an entrepreneur, I've had to learn how to understand how people act from where they're from and how they were raised.
Outstanding. Look, I love your story. I'm a USS Iwo Jima plank owner, so I know what that
nice.
Navy, Marine Corps Navy life is about, and I love my Marines. So earlier I said, hey, PHP, right? And
Yes,
I've been following you guys for years now, right? And I've seen what you guys have done with that agency. Talk about what Pat can do with little and make it into such a great success. So happy for you guys. But tell us a little bit about PHP.
so PHP Agency, our mission is to save America through free enterprise. Although we sell insurance, although we provide retirement services, really our mission is really entrepreneurship. We just happen to be in the insurance industry. And so when I got out of the Marine Corps, I'm sure you gentlemen can relate, my TAPS class, my transition class, that's when the first time they ever brought up financial planning to me. I'm like, when were you expecting for me to have my money grow and compound in the next 60 days? I don't have a job. You should have told me this stuff in boot camp, or at least at my first duty station. And I waited 8 years for you now to finally tell me about the magic of compound interest and how to save in the S&P 500, et cetera, and what the SGLI is going to look like when you're a veteran, called VGLI. And I remember sitting there in the TAPS class, and one of my guys was doing the math. He says, hey, pretty soon, based on the increase of premium from $25 a month to $100 a month, we're going to be paying $250,000 just to get back $250,000. So it doesn't make sense to get the VGLI. And I just realized how much we were left in the financial darkness in terms of making money. And yet we're stationed in some of the wealthiest places in America, which was Orange County and San Diego. So we're flying around these resorts and these wealthy beaches and spots where people that with money go to, and yet we're broke. And I just realized long ago that, man, why do these people have money and I don't? And thankfully, somebody recruited me into the insurance industry to give me a shot to start wrapping my mind around understanding the rules of the money game, so therefore we can win it.
Wow. I think diversity, which I mentioned earlier, the distribution, which you're currently doing as a CDO, is an imperative here, because you brought up something very important that is true. We're trained to fight, trained to kill, right? Yep. But we're not given the internal fortitude and the knowledge of the Quan, right? So thank you for sharing that. I think it's so important to understand. So how is PHP holding up, and what are you all currently doing in this new normal?
Yeah, so in this new normal, actually, we've exploded in growth, believe it or not. We've proven to be not only recession-proof, but also pandemic-proof. As I'm speaking to you right now behind a computer and through this technology called Zoom, our sales force across the country has not only increased from year to year, but we're ahead 43% when the rest of the industry is down 20 to 30%. And so when we're looking at our numbers, we're looking at the diversity. Predominantly our company is 53% Latina. we have more women Latina in our company. 35% is African American. So we're predominantly a multicultural company where it doesn't matter if you're white, black, brown, as long as you can get down with the color green, we can rock with you. But we're actually educating people on the basic fundamentals. It's funny. I got some bricks. So we're actually showing here's how you build your financial house. So therefore, when your financial house comes crumbling down due to a drop in the stock market or change in health, or you get laid off or something like that, you can still build on a solid financial foundation, because when what hits the fan, you want to make sure money and resources and finances are there. And I've been doing this now for next year will be 22 years. I can't believe I'm saying that, but 22 years of me inside this industry to see what happens during multiple recessions, what works and what doesn't work. I have the rare thing now called experience, not just theory, in terms of what works and what doesn't work in terms of getting through very tough times.
Yeah, that's so important, because I think you mentioned it just right off the bat, is that you're educated to a limited education level when you come out the military, especially financially. Yep. Financially, it's just they don't address it. They do tell you, hey, you got some type of retirement, some type of insurance, but it doesn't translate automatically from one to the other. Yep. Unless you take a deep cut, and that deep cut really hurts. And to be frank, when you go from inside the gate to outside the gate, you're done, right? Yep. You're done. And so, you guys venture into this field, and I love how you say, well, one recession proof and now is a pandemic proof, because that it matters. It matters. So what's on the horizon for PHP now that you got these numbers that stack up against other people and you're just so ahead of the schedule, really?
Yeah, so we're attracting a lot of big boys conversation. Like here I am without a college degree, with no sales or business experience, previous to PHP, previous to financial services. I mean, I'm coming out the Marine Corps as a door gunner on a helicopter, right? And thankfully, somebody taught me, somebody brought me in, and I was under the guidance of a mentor, which is something we promote heavily with inside PHP, because it was given to me. We're just paying it forward now to introduce mentorship and financial literacy and entrepreneurship to a lot of people, and having that combination all put together. And the prospects are big because, for example, Oscar De La Hoya dropped in his investment team dropped $10 million into our firm in 2017. They love what we're doing. They want to become a part of it. And Oscar De La Hoya says, listen, a lot of people ask me for money. you can imagine. And so this is part of my way of giving back, because instead of just giving people one-on-one, through you, I can help the Latino community. I can help the multicultural community impact financially, because, when what hits the fan, people are not financially prepared, and they have to rely on charity and GoFundMe to get them through some very tough times, without realizing that they could have solved this a long time ago for 20, 30 cents on the dollar by just having a right insurance strategy. Because, the right insurance strategy, you spend less on that than a cup of coffee, for Starbucks on a daily basis. And it could be just as inexpensive, especially when you're younger, than a gym membership, just to make sure you're financially covered and financially prepared, that you have this money growing and compounding for you, that creates a shroud of a financial umbrella during some of the worst moments of your life. But a lot of people just aren't thinking about that. And again, the recession is proving that when people have these financial structures in place, or they've chosen the path of entrepreneurship in a pandemic, recession, unaffected type of industry, which is really the financial services industry, it's so imperative right now to find out what those are, because people think that they go out. I remember when I was getting out the military, be a cop, be this. But by the way, imagine being a cop today. Woo! Very tough to be a cop today. You can't have a bad day. And if you have a bad day, everybody records you, put you on blast. But that's really the purpose of PHP, is to show people another path, especially the diversity, the multicultural community, because we're just not exposed to this conversation.
I love the passion, because you lean forward when you speak, man, and it shows your commitment and your passion, And speaking of a person of experience, 22 years in this and 8 in the Marine Corps and your past previous life, let's talk about leadership, because all this is intertwined with this foundation, which is leadership. So for yourself, what do you currently do, or what are you doing to in the professional development arena to improve your capabilities as a leader?
My job as a leader, as a chief distribution officer, is to help build agencies across the country, create distribution, right? And so different pockets of the United States. And for 12 years, I was a personal producer. I was me, myself, and I was a sales guy. I was selling insurance. I was selling retirement services. And I did that for 12 years. For me individually, there was a point for me as a single dad with custody of my three kids. I eventually burnt out, because everything was on my shoulders. Sales. I didn't learn how to scale. I didn't learn how to create more of me. Like remember in the military, when you worked on maintenance or something, how many man hours did you have on this particular equipment, right? You weren't doing it by yourself. You had a buddy system, right? You worked on it together. 4 men, even though it was 1 hour, there's 4 men on the job. I didn't learn how to translate that to business. I just didn't make that correlation. So now we're taking some of the values and principles and leadership principles that we learned in the military, translated it into business, translated into the insurance industry, and that's exploded our company. We've been growing since the inception of our company. We're 11 years old now. We're valued at a $12 million company, and I say that because investment bankers are coming in and we've got audited financials through PricewaterhouseCoopers, PwC. And they've audited our financials. They know where our money's coming from. They know how we spend it. They know where it's at. We're a 12-figure type company now. And so, we're looking to potentially down the road have a conversation of either do we go public? Because, we had companies in our company, like companies in our industry like Goosehead and Lemonade that are not much more bigger than us, valued at $2-3 billion. And they're not that much bigger than us. And we're looking at this type of stuff. We're having the right conversation. We're like, whoa, what is the potential we got here? What do we have in our, what do we need to sign up for? Cool. Let's get to the next evolution. And part of a leader is helping people understand and get to do what they normally would have done themselves. And that's really my definition of leadership. And so helping people understand that they're more than capable of being an entrepreneur. They're more than capable of handling their finances. They're more than capable of being more than what they are, and to tap into that potential and express that. The last thing you want to do is being buried in the ground. Everybody around you said, man, they were so good, but they didn't accomplish what they were set out to do. I don't want people mourning somebody's life. I want people celebrating somebody's life when push comes to shove and when that time comes. But that's what gets me up out of bed every morning.
Yeah, that's powerful. And you mentioned that, and in my head was this vision of a person standing in front of their gravestone, and it says, "There lies my hopes and dreams," right? And that's a very sobering image if you talk about leadership, development, and fulfilling your full potential of all that you can while you can, and you're given life. So. We all 3 of us separated from the service in one way or another, and we had to find our way. So there are a lot of people who listen that are emerging leaders, right? They're not leaders. They're just trying to get their wings, start to flapping. So what kind of advice could you tell some of those emerging leaders right now that are looking at this transition season, or they're actually moving into the leadership position?
I see this a lot from a lot of NCOs and even officers because they were so celebrated, or they had position in the military. Listen, when you get out, I hate to say this to you guys, but nobody gives a shit if you're a lieutenant. Nobody gives a shit if you're a sergeant. Nobody gives a shit if you're a sergeant major. All they care about is, can you make my department profitable? Can you make my department improve? Now, you may have a nice resume on LinkedIn. You might have a nice resume that when you interview with, but all they know is, can you operate, and please, can you represent the veteran community with honor and dignity? And you show, man, this is what veterans do, baby. I still feel that way every time I'm able to be in the public eye, that I'm just not representing PHP. In my opinion, I'm still representing the military family community, because I feel that I'm an ambassador to a strong veteran military community that can create a strong America. And we need to have more diverse examples of success in the military veteran community. And they're just not getting the shine right now, which I'm so glad you guys are doing this podcast. And so I would say that to them. You have to think like a private. I'm sorry, you have to act like a private, but act like a general. Right? Think like a general, act like a private. I mean, think like a general, but act like a private. If that means you got to humble yourselves or roll up the sleeves and do some of the dirty work and build yourself back up, not only do you have to put the ego aside, but man, you're going to get so much respect from a lot of people. Say, hey, yo, this guy was a sergeant so-and-so. He was a lieutenant. He was a captain, blah, 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 but he's willing to do the dirty work. Wow, watch this guy rise up. And that's what employers and that's what the business community likes to see is, are you willing to still do the dirty?
I love it. Think like a general and act like a private. Folks, roll up your sleeves and, think strategically ahead, but be in the weeds and seeds with everybody else. Totally understandable and related. And which brings up, there's always times that challenges come up. And for some, they don't see obstacles. We see opportunities, right?
Yes.
So when you have challenges, what have you faced? What would you like to unfold and divulge to the audience of how you relate to it and what you've done with it?
I love challenges, just like we did in the military. We run towards the noise. So why trying to run away from it when you're a civilian now? No, man, we made our living running towards the noise. And so when there's noise, when there's challenges, therein lies the seeds of opportunity. Like, I'm shocked and amazed, even during this pandemic, he's made a lot of money. People that sold masks, right? That's how you can't take away America, right? People adapted, they pivoted. A buddy of mine, he knows he's here. He's a veteran here in the Chicagoland area. He was known for putting event planning. All the celebrities come to Chicago, events. Well, this whole year obliterated. But who was his contacts though? His contacts were corporate clients. Well, guess what corporate clients want to have? They want to provide a safe, sanitary environment for the people to come, so therefore they don't get sick. So what do? He should this corporate contact say, hey, I'm reinvesting to not a cleaning company, but to sanitize your office. So he pivoted, boom, ton of clients came his way. No problem. We like how you do business. We sanitize my office, X amount of dollars per square foot. And now he just provided rapid testing. This veteran just, boom, rapid testing. 50, why? Because here in Illinois, we're a blue state, right? That means things kind of get slow. And instead of red states, I remember going to Texas. I got COVID in Texas. Boom, 5 different places to get 15-minute COVID testing. I come back to Illinois. Oh, you have to call a doctor to get a special approval, get your What? I just fly back down to Texas, get rapid tested. Here we have a hard time getting. Well, this guy anyway. He started introducing rapid tests. Now here in Illinois without going through all the rigmarole. But these are some of the things that military service members know how to do. You know how to improvise, you know how to adapt, you know how to pivot, especially in times of crisis, and allow yourself to be introduced to something or a different field or doing something you never thought you'd be doing before. You just remember what we used to do in the military? We used to have collateral duties. You just didn't have an MOS. But when you finally got to your shop, you had 4 or 5 different responsibilities. Well, there's one career, if you're open to it, you have 4 or 5 different opportunities. You never know which one slips in. I never thought in a million years I'd be in the insurance industry. But once I started understanding with the rules of the money game, I started seeing the big eyes that people were opened up. And as soon as I educated them about concepts, that's what fired me up to do what I do today.
And undoubtedly that has to do with change in life, right? That has to do with those pivots that young man or that man took was because he saw a change coming. He saw an opportunity there and acted. And you talked about running to the noise. Not many people run to the noise, right? And I see movies, and I'm like, I hear a branch break. I'm like, yo, turn around and run. But no, they go to the noise, right? And it makes for a great movie, right? It's just how it is. And those things, those changes in life require strategy. So what kind of strategies have you implemented or do you teach for people when change comes?
Number one, assess what you got in your hand. What are some of the talents? What are some of the experiences? What can you do? What's some of the, and then based on those skill sets, what problems do you identify in the marketplace that you can provide value, that you can provide assistance, that you can provide help? Because that's what entrepreneurship is all about. Finding the problem, creating a solution, because chances are there's not very many solutions around. For example, in the insurance industry, the typical insurance agent is a 60, 61-year-old Caucasian male. So that's a problem. Number two, that information, they're not going to the hood to talk about finances. They're not going to the inner cities in sadly the multicultural communities to share these type of things. Well, that's what we decided to do. Well, nobody's coming to that. And there's a lot of financial noise that's happening, of things negatively happening. We inserted ourselves in that. We're providing a platform for people to finally see how to fix their financial issues, to be a self-learner, to be a self-starter, to take advantage of this wonderful economic system of America called capitalism, and to say you can have some economic mobility going from rags to riches, broke to balling. But if you just choose to see those type of things, there are always opportunities in everything that we do. My suggestion is to find a mentor that helps you see things. I forgot who said it. He said it best, but the saying says, the reason why I see further is because I stand on the shoulders of giants. So whose shoulders are you standing on? That's a question you got to ask yourself going to 2021.
Absolutely. Standing on the shoulders of giants, you definitely see the longevity and the bigger picture, or the mountaintop, as they say. An easier way to climb, you just navigate through it. And I appreciate what PHP is doing to go into those inner cities, to go into those disenfranchised folks, to educate them and give them the power within their own hands, their own talents. And folks out there that are listening, how do they contact either yourself or PHP Agency itself to get this opportunity instead?
Thanks for asking. Anywhere on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Money Smart Guy. Money Smart Guy. And this is a little bit of our brand, Entrepathlete, where we treat business like sport. For a lot of people in the military community, you got to find a way to compete still. We were promoted throughout a competitive environment. So to be able to express yourself, and that's what allowed us to stay focused. But if you want to contact, you want to be part of a competitive environment, competitive social media profile that's exciting, hopefully that you might perceive it that way. But Money Smart Guy is where it's at, where we can help strategize and help you think like a millionaire, strategize like a millionaire. And so therefore you can one day become a first generation cash flow millionaire. And so that's where you can find me, at Money Smart Guy, anywhere across the internet.
Outstanding. And folks, if you want to reach out, we're going to have all that information, part of the video, part of the comments, so you can get in touch with them and see what they're all about. If you want to get in touch with us, the leadershipvoid@gmail.com is our address. Send us, leadership questions. Send us topics you want us to cover. And out of all the things, right, send us your swag. I don't have one right today.
Get you some swag, baby. Yeah.
All right, we're gonna be representing PHP and Matt and Pat and all that crew out there. Fellow veterans doing great things. Thank you so much, Matt, for your time. We're going to cover a couple of other details here in a second, but you guys are doing great business and great things, and I appreciate y'all.
That's absolutely true. I mean, Matt, thank you for leaning in, really giving us what you're down and dirty, the dirty south, the Windy City's represented with Matt Sapaula, Chief Distribution Officer at PHP. Honored to have you. Folks, tune in, send him an email. He can definitely be a catalyst to your financial growth and freedom. And we continue our journey. Next week, we're going to San Antonio, Texas to speak with Tim Dickens, the president and CEO of a Dickens Consulting Group, LLC. So we're honored to have him next week. But today, it was all about PHP and Matt. We burning the midnight oil and making it rain. Thank you, sir.
Guys. Thanks so much for having me, man. God bless you guys. And here's to a prosperous 2021.